Hello, good evening, all. Everyone can hear me, right? While we're muted? Great, 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 great.
I can hear you.
Okay,
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
everyone's coming. Everyone's coming through. Great. I just wanted to make
I
sure.
can't hear you.
Well, nothing. We're not talking by choice, Sheila. We're just. um. Okay. I was notified by Pia that she wouldn't be able to. Hi, Debbie. Pia won't be able to make it. I haven't heard from Leticia. And Anatole might be on parent duty, might not be, might be a little in between. And I haven't heard from Michael. Um, but all the same, um, thanks to everyone who kind of was chiming in over the last few weeks. I think we've been able to cover a lot of ground. I did. Uh, I was a little mixed in kind of approving changes like cosmetic, some language choices, verbiage, but also even when we were like in agreement, if I felt like it was kind of a bigger deal, figured to leave the comment and wait till reviewing here together jointly before kind of formally approving the comment and the change. Um, so no, all good, Lucia. So the way I was thinking of running today was kind of going through some of the bigger conversations that have been had, discussing them live, and seeing if we can find kind of quicker resolutions versus like from chatting versus just pinging each other with comments. Does that have any resonance? Okay, I get a thumbs up from Sheila. Any other considerations that we want to kind of include here? I know, like I said, I know we can all review it in our own time. It's kind of up to Maury told me he couldn't make it today, and I said, great. Put your feedback in because this is your shot. And so that is what I'm thinking. Any other thoughts, or should we do the screen share and take it from there? Okay.
Yep.
Great. And I saw
Here's
I
Nellie.
saw Nell. Oh, okay. I was gonna say I saw Nellie jump in. So Nellie, you missed nothing. We're just gonna do a screen share and kind of walk through some of the bigger topics.
Okay. Hi to everybody and Happy New Year.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is why I'm
Yeah,
not.
everybody.
This is why I don't lead meetings too often. Yeah, I hope everyone had a great New Year. And I'm already back to business 1 week. And
Feels like a long time ago. Totally.
yeah, so pardon me. Let me go and find. Okay. Okay, and I'm just gonna put my whole screen up. So if somebody has their hand raised, let's say, like I might not see you, feel free to chime in, or like Sheila, you wanna, as you
I can
know,
handle it.
can you? Yes, exactly.
My vice chair duties.
Exactly, exactly.
Um, Patrick, sorry, before we restart, can you
All
just
good.
recap what we want to accomplish today? Is it just to
Yes.
go through all the edits together?
No, it wasn't going to
Oh,
go through all the edits together.
oh,
When it's
what
about verbiage, smaller item, cosmetic grammar stuff, I figured to just approve them, make things look a little less cluttered.
totally.
Um, there's some points that I think might be like a little too wordy, so I kind of
Uh-huh.
question that. And some bigger items that I'm in agreement on. Sheila, a few others, but I left in all the same before, like, so we can jointly review before hitting like reviewed. There are a few items that we probably won't get to through all of them, but that kind of we should be discussing all the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
We
thank
won't be
you.
covering everything. I hope we'll be covering a lot of things, and the next few weeks we can kind of tackle the rest.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
I just want to say, I just want to like, I'm so impressed and appreciative of, the care that everyone's given. It's
Well,
looking good.
it's impressive though we're not quite there yet. Um, and I don't know why I'm trying to get to like this first comment. Um, but oh yeah, uh, Michael. I mean, I think this is kind of fair to kind of chop that this section as far as what is defining it.
Yeah, first of all, it's really wordy. Second of all, what's written is probably incorrect because it contradicts the charter. So,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm more for kind of keeping it simple and straight in general.
yeah, you made a comment later. I make a lot of suggestions that are also just trying to make it shorter or less wordy.
I think I kind of moved through a bit swiftly with yours. So now I know we're kind of still working on this first preamble
Yeah,
section, so we can kind of leave that
yeah.
for now.
Can I, before we move on from that
Oh, yeah.
section, um, I in my research of looking across other bylaws, I looked at about half a dozen of them from, four boroughs, across four boroughs. A lot of them do reference some sort of like at a constitutional authority. So even if we don't want to name it, do we at least want to, at a high level, address that we, um, you know, conform to or abide by the city charter? Like, I feel like the city charter is the city's constitution. So even if we don't want to name all the different sort of um, bodies, we can at least just name the city charter somewhere in the one of the opening articles.
I think we
Yeah.
do though in
Oh,
Article
we do.
3 purposes. I mean, it references doing the purposes and duties by the charter. Um, so
Okay, yes. Sorry, I missed that, Michael. Yes, I think that's sufficient.
But Nellie, I'm curious, were you asking also kind of to the point of what was taken
Mhm.
out? And I'm not advocating for it or against it, but the point being, there's one thing to say that we abide by the duties of the charter. There's
Mhm.
another thing to say that the community board too, the boundaries of it are defined. How are they defined?
Yes, so that piece we can, so that's a different piece, and
Right.
that is acknowledged in a number of different of these bylaws that I looked at.
Yeah,
So
that's what I
and
had seen in other bylaws.
yeah, and so that was kind of my also I think I put a little comment too. I think I named three neighborhoods. I'm never so sure how to include Maspeth because it's like sort of awkward to be like, and parts of Maspeth without sort of defining that. Um, but I also think, can we just reference some document that includes it rather than us naming it?
Think that's a better choice, especially since because of all of the real estate terms now, like Hunters Point, Court Square,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and people can get a little put off if they're not included.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's like a link to the map, perhaps.
yeah, I think there may be a charter. Um,
It's on our website. So
Yeah.
if we agree and are comfortable with what's on the CB2 website, it could be as simple as that. So
What
the
what's on the
yeah.
CB2 website should be a map of the district as it is. So
So maybe as defined by law, and we could hyperlink it, or it could sort of explicitly say and defined on the, you know, maybe.
I would just specify the law. I'd say as defined by city law. I mean, there are districts defined in some form.
yeah, well, what the charter says is that there are community districts that the city council will draw the map of with
Right.
consultations with the borough president, CPC, etc. So, I mean,
Reference that
well,
because
then we're
that changes, but so would this.
well, in principle, it changes. It has never changed, but
Okay, good. It could. That's
yeah,
all.
I guess what I don't quite understand is we say area served and we say as defined by law. I mean,
Well, we
we could
just
say we could
specify
say as
which
defined
law
by the New York City Charter.
and the council or as defined by the, whatever it is. That's what I would say.
Isn't it whatever it is defined by law?
Well, but then you've got lots of laws. So, I mean, because there are districts, for instance, that apply to council members. Like Julie Wan's district isn't exactly the same
Right, but
as
Community
hers.
District 2 of the Borough of Queens
Is
Yeah.
one district.
is exactly coterminous with us, right?
Yes. Yep.
So that is
Yeah.
what Article
So
2 area
let's
served
just say
defines.
it. Say that.
The city council as defined by law. I mean, I mean,
The other thing is that I just opened it is I'm hyperlinks. The idea of hyperlinks came up before and was actually the group had decided, and Roz, Dr. Roz, you might remember this, not to do that because they're for some people who aren't as tech savvy. However, there is on the CB2 website a downloadable district map that's which I just opened from so New York City Planning has a map of CB2. So we could include, it could be hyperlink and the link, as well as maybe this map is an addendum to the bylaws. I
Is
mean,
it
I'm
defined
looking
by
at
the
it.
city planning?
Well,
Maybe
it's
that's
not, I
what
think
it
to
is.
everybody's point, and maybe we're spending a lot of
Yes.
time on this. It's like
Right.
not just defined by city planning. However, they have a map available of the district.
Mhm.
yeah, I don't quite see what problem's being solved by this conversation. Like,
Mhm. I would defer to the chair. He can find whatever wording will work. Yeah.
Yeah. Nelly, give it your kind of your best shot, and we'll
Yeah.
just kind of review it offline.
Okay, great.
I think that's pretty
Okay,
straightforward.
great.
Um, where? Oh, public members. Public members. I wrote public members. What is their purpose?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so,
it's number 2.
this number two, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
What page is that?
This
3.
is page 3.
I suggested adding pages.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll look for kind of where that is and make sure
It's in the
it's
footer.
approved. Okay.
Just to voice over this, previously there was not a section that said that public members had a term length, that the board regularly accepts public members, or that there's any timeline for when we accept public members. And so I added this language around, like, they have a 1-year term. Initially, I said beginning in January, and then Roz said it should to make it coterminous with the board. I also thought starting in April isn't so bad, given that it is currently January and
Mm.
had a public member cycle in a minute. So
The if I may, the one I totally support the being a term, and part of the reason, like I said, it wasn't there before is because it was kind of brand new what we
for
were
sure.
finding. But since the new chair comes on in January, right?
Yes.
But they don't always know who the new members are until April,
Right.
right?
Sometimes the person, somebody's applied to be a public member, but to be on the board. And so now all of a sudden they're actually a board member rather than just a public member. Corey Hannigan was an example of that.
So I'm wondering if it shouldn't be like June to June or September to September.
Yeah, when's our summer break? Maybe that's a good way to think about it.
It ends in June. July and August are off in many respects, and then September it starts back up.
So maybe
So
September to September is a good way to, because I do think it's a bit odd, yeah, to the point that y'all have just made, which I think is quite helpful. Like, you don't even know if you're going to be a full member. Like, should you also apply to be a public member? Although I don't quite remember when you learn about like if you got on the board or not? Like, is that in
You
March?
learn exactly on April 1st.
Oh, do you? Oh,
Well,
okay.
that's when I learned it was my birthday, and I got the notice on April 2nd. So I
Nice.
missed my first board meeting.
So maybe September then is a good timeline. September to September.
I don't see why we want to have all these things out of sync. Let the committee work as a committee. I mean, the only argument, and I think actually I'm going to change my mind because when new members come on the board, we encourage them to go to all the meetings and learn about the committees, express their preference. So the actual assignments to committees really doesn't happen till maybe June or something, or May, even possibly May, but the work of the members, the new members. So that's when a public member should come on as well.
I kind of like the idea of a staggered schedule. I think it kind of gives strength to kind of like the participation rather than a whole new leaf at the same time being changed.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
kind of
I
like
don't,
the September um, timeframe for public members. We have executive committee on in January, new members in April, and then public members in September. Um, feels I don't know. I think
I
a
can,
static
I
schedule.
can, I can buy that.
Yeah,
And
exactly. I
Patrick,
mean,
maybe to support your point, staggering it allows decisions about public members that might fill in gaps that exist in terms of elected members or the other appointed members. So yeah.
exactly. Words are failing. I know there is kind of strength in scattering appointments at times or new
Are
additions.
these terms subject to renewal
Yes.
Or which terms?
for the public members? Maybe they would have, term limits as well.
Yes, Debbie. What's? I see your hand raised. What's up?
I was just going to make the suggestion. As Ross said, board members are appointed for April. They get the grace period if they don't give them the notification in time, whatever, and then they can come to the April or May meeting and it starts. So my thoughts is maybe May to May. So this way you have time after who's appointed to the board to be able to appoint a committee member, and then they can determine, and the board and you guys can determine who goes to what meeting, just as a suggestion. That's what you did, I think, when you appointed the last public members. Like Patricia Pan, I'll use that as an example because she's been a very reliable public member, and she comes to all the transportation meetings. Not every person that is appointed, even as a public member, comes. So, um, we keep a tally of all that as well. So, I'm just thinking that the May, when you appoint them for May or June, like Sheila said before, maybe that's a term that you look for a year from either May to May or May to June or June to June. But then we do break July and August, then you come back in September. So.
Exactly. That's why I'm kind of a little reluctant to like June or something like that because you're even as a new member, you feel like you're just getting started and you lose all that momentum in the summer. I would really like Anatole to chime in, and since he is not here, I think I think we can. Um,
In general, I'm supporting what Tish said, with Letitia. Pardon me,
yes.
apologize. I have friends with the name Tish, and the September to June also gives, because the chair is going to make the appointments, it gives them time to look at who the members are and an application process, and then they're doing a full year of September to June, and then there's some overlap in different ways. But
Okay.
I have
yeah.
my hand raised. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Ross.
Yeah, I think we're sort of losing sight. We're over prescribing this. The public member just really got going, and so now we're formalizing it slightly. I think the main purpose is to identify that there's kind of a term that because otherwise, for instance, and Patricia Pan is an example, Anatole asked me to mention to her that her status would be subject to review in April, but it made it kind of awkward if it were a standard thing. So it means basically that, I mean, honestly, we love it if people are attending for the most part, unless they have kind of bad behavior. We did have an example of someone on transportation who we finally had to ask to leave. Um, and I don't think we should oversubscribe this. Let it be something the chair determines.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say, unfortunately, a major voice for this is not here. But Eric, Nelly, I know, like I said, I like pinged you guys in particular here. Does this kind of make sense? This kind of language that we've incorporated, and basically, can I kind of resolve this thread? Or any questions from either of you?
None for me. I agree. I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, all good, all good. Nelly, I'll get back to me on that, Nelly.
Yeah, I'll get back to you. Thanks.
Okay. Cool. What else? Oh, this about serving on chair, vice chair, as well as other officers. I also want Anatole to chime in on that because I know it was kind of a policy that he was looking to incorporate, and I don't know if we necessarily want to keep the rigidity of it
Yeah,
or kind of keep
that's
the
the
spirit of it. Oh, what's up, Stephen?
I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I mean, I served when I took over as chair of the community board. I continued on. I stepped down from the chair of land use, but that was my choice. Um, there are going to be times when you don't have as many active people who are wonderful and wish to take over chair and vice chair. I don't know that we should legislate it out. It's a lot more comfortable, and you'll find that most chairs of the community board have enough to do without wanting to be chair or vice chair of a committee. They usually will attend, and there'll be a kind of an unofficial attendee, even though they're officially a member of all committees. But I don't think you really want to legislate that.
Roz has her hand up.
I was advocating strongly for this because I felt it was really important. It forces us to diversify. And so there was an issue when Tom, how was it? How did it work with transportation? When he became second vice chair,
Mhm.
he was also chairing transportation. And so it was the kind of thing where, as a kind of on an acting status, so that he had a chance to help the new person come in. And I still think it's really important to put a little muscle between, yeah, spreading, as Leticia says, spreading leadership and responsibility. So that's why I was advocating for it.
Fair. I mean, I think we'll leave as is until Anatole kind of is able to weigh in, and if he doesn't have a chance to like look at it, we'll have to let him go. But okay. Anything else on this point before I move on?
Other than that, E should be a
Sorry,
small
Steve.
E.
I'm sorry, Stephen.
Other than E should be a small E.
Okay,
Yeah.
that will be corrected. I feel like Michael's already on the case.
Probably.
So, yes, that'll be corrected.
I want Michael to like fix the grammar and everything I write. He's so good at it.
Indeed. What? Oh, yes. Here's a big one, kind of like reporting the votes and how they are reported. What? Here's the big back and forth. I'm trying to see if I can capture it, but also like vote at the December meeting for the officers, and basically, do we want this out? Like, I'm not sure if we want the votes necessarily reported on um, in terms of like individual votes. Like the results
There's
should be
something in the
reported.
city charter about the fact that all of our votes have to be recorded and kept.
Yeah, but Roz has her hand up, but
No, go ahead, Sheila.
I was just going to say the language in the charter, and we went round and round about this the last time too, does not actually specifically say that each individual vote must be made public. It needs to be made available. That's how it was read, and that's how we went with it. Because of the public pressure that is put on people and private pressure. And I have seen in the past, and I'm sure you have seen some retribution. So that was part of why I read that charter piece backwards and forwards too.
We could change this just to subject to discovery. I mean, I think that strictly you're absolutely correct, Sheila, that and it does. And then later in this document, I saw something that talked about different categories of votes, and there were ballot votes versus and so on. And I felt that was actually very effective in capturing this. To me, the spirit of that law is that, the positions we take on issues, not the positions we take on personnel, as it were, or candidates. I think that's you know, almost everywhere. And when we vote, we go into a very secret private ballot. And I think that I would make that distinction. Anyway, I'm done.
Michael.
I would say a few things on this. I mean, first, when public bodies elect internal leaders, that those votes do tend to be public, right? Like votes on council speakership are not secret. We can observe them. So I do think there is a differentiation
Oh,
between direct election and when a body elects its internal leader, a public body. The second point I'd like to make is, I mean, for me, I don't think this is like, I don't want to overstate this. Like, I think this is a complicated issue and the social pressure stuff is real. Although I think that exists for all our votes, not just the votes that are, about personnel. But for me, this is kind of about like, there's no question that these votes are public in some sense. In my mind, the question is whether we should require people to file a public records request to get them, which creates disparities in access, or we should just publish the votes so that people are on equal terms and can get them. And for me, that weighs in favor of putting them in the minutes so that it's sort of on an equal playing field and we're not in a position where some people have access to this information and other people don't.
Michael, are you saying that you want the actual tally, who I voted for, who you voted for, published in the minutes of our meeting?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually what our bylaws said prior to this change.
Yeah.
That was the existing language of the bylaw. I'm not proposing a change. I'm proposing that it stay the same.
Well, I feel like
Actually,
oh, go
no,
ahead,
we
Sheila.
changed it so that, and we've been operating where people, it was
No, this definitely reflects accepted changes. Like the initial language said, like I believe Patrick, you accepted an edit here because our existing bylaw definitely says the vote should be recorded in the minutes.
Let me.
but it was
go-
about the tally. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it was not about the each individual
No.
vote. It was about the tally.
Oh, I see. It was the
Yeah, which does have to be made public. And I hear what you're saying, but it's weighing the opportunity for people to feel safe in their votes, with the, one or two people who really want to see exactly how every person voted, which also gets into a little bit of the pressure thing. Like
I'm
I
just a
want,
little confused though. Like if a person wants to pressure another person based on their vote, um, yeah, it says each member's vote will be reported in the published minutes of the meeting. So the status quo is that the individual votes are tallied, and the proposal is to change it. Yeah, thanks for finding the language, Patrick.
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
So the intention, so thanks for finding that. Obviously, we weren't doing that because the intention was that the tally would be in the minutes.
Yeah.
And which I'm more in favor of, but
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah,
out
I mean, I'm just kind of trying to imagine that I'm trying to play this out, right? So there's some nefarious person who wants to bully people over their vote, right? That's the case we're trying to prevent. I don't see how not publishing the vote and then just requiring people to essentially email the district manager and ask for it stops them from doing that. Um, so that, like, I'm not sure what, like, how much harm is prevented. I mean, from forcing people to file public records requests rather than just publishing these.
I just don't think that in the end, the general public is, if somebody really wants to know how each person voted, then that's actually, I said, speaks to who they are, and there's nothing to do about that. But in advance of that, there's a lot of lobbying that goes on to get people to vote a certain way. And one of the things that was changed in the past revision because of some of this was the fact that people had to nominate themselves also instead of having other people nominate them, because in a way that was also part of, if someone else nominates you, you've already been anointed by a certain contingent on the board. So I do think it gives people a little bit of feeling of feeling they may love a person, but then at the same time decide that's not the person they want to elect in a certain position. Um, and Roz,
Very
I
short
had my
question.
hand up.
What?
Sorry.
Hmm?
I was just gonna call to like we do explicitly call out for a secret ballot.
Yeah.
And for the secret ballot to stay secret, I understand the language here that the vote will be recorded in the published minutes. I think it's just that the member did vote, like a record of the member voting.
It says.
I'm sorry, Steve?
That's not what it says. Unfortunately, the language there is pretty damn clear.
Yeah.
well, it's confusing because it does say secret ballot.
Yeah, but what I read that as is the vote is not disclosed at the time of the vote.
Correct. The individual's votes are not
Right.
right.
So like it becomes known a month later, which strikes me as being a reasonable way to straddle between these two concerns of this is public and we don't want pressure, is like we're not raising hands in front of each other.
Right.
Well, there's a
like, month later.
sequential thing too, because if you're
Yeah, with a lot of our
how
votes, I
everybody
feel
else
like there's order effects, and if like 5 people vote yes before you, but anyway.
Well, should we vote on this?
Mhm.
Secretly.
No.
Yeah, right. How come this vote? It's different. But I do think we should. I don't know how else we weigh this. Like I think we have expressed different opinions and then we have to decide somehow.
My motion, I can make it as a motion,
Yeah.
is to simply say each member's vote will be subject to discovery and leave it, period. Take the rest of that out and otherwise as amended.
I support something like that. It does need to say that all votes would be recorded, the tally or something,
Yeah,
has
right,
to be
it says,
recorded in the
right,
minutes.
the outcome.
I wouldn't
will be,
want to use the subject to discovery because it sounds confrontational to me,
It also
but
sounds like a subpoena, which it's not.
right.
Like,
But
will be available, or I mean,
I don't even think any of the like it could just end.
I mean, it just is available, like, I
Right.
would just
It's
add that.
available by law, whatever this document says.
Right, yeah.
I think that when you bring this to the board, there's going to be certain areas where the board can just simply say yes, and everybody will agree on 90% of our changes.
mhm.
And there'll be other areas, such as this one, where it's going to be subject to, I think, its own individual discussion. And I think we have to accept that. I mean, the other reason that these things are subject to discovery, or whatever words you want to use, is we don't have an independent election commission looking at these votes. They're counted by usually the present board. Okay. So I'd almost think that there's going to be situations, this may be one of them, where we have to bring two options to the board, let them decide between them.
And Letitia has her hand up.
Well, if this is just specifically for officer voting, right? It's nothing else, just the officers. According to Robert's rules, you only have to report the tally, the totals and the outcome through secret ballots, and we don't have to report what each person, voted on, just essentially that they actually voted. Like who voted and what was the outcome and what's the who voted for yes for Bob and who voted no. No, I mean, how many people voted no?
That's
Not so much.
Robert's rules, but not for the city charter or the sunshine rules, all that
Oh,
crap we
okay.
have.
But the
Oh,
city,
that's so annoying.
no, Letitia, I mean, you're right. Like city charter does not say each vote needs to be made public. It's couched language.
Can you send that to us, Sheila?
Yeah. I'd also I thought Steve's point there was actually, I mean, I'm already on one side of this, so, but kind of compelling in the sense of how do I know if my vote was counted correctly if it's not published? Do I have to file a Freedom of Information request?
Seems silly.
Yeah, like, so there is some just like self-transparency
All right.
aspect.
I like the idea of two options, or at least for now. Sheila, Michael and Sheila, can you guys kind of split it with your respective preferences for language, and we can kind of revisit it or have the board discuss?
I think that's fine. I'll just say I don't propose any change, right? Like I would have just
Yeah.
left the existing language.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
I will take a look so that we have a second option.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna do that right this second.
No. That's my way of moving on. So okay, all good. All good. And so did I? No, I did not want to talk about that. We could talk about this offline about like secretary roles. Oh, the treasurer. I know there was like
Yeah.
conversation here as well as with the district manager section.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need to add a little bit more to this, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. One thing that's tripping me up is there's existing language about the executive committee as a whole doing certain things that I think traditionally have been done by well, I don't know. I don't have a long memory on the board, but were things I did last year. So I think that's one thing I wanted to discuss, but
Okay.
there's
So
also just some work I have to do that I haven't done on this.
Can I add a little to help that might help?
Yeah, for sure.
Part of the kind of dumping a lot of stuff into the executive committee that happened in the last round was again, it was like saying, getting to a point of saying, let's be clear about all the things that have to be done by members of this body, and then now greater clarity can be done. So if that helps to understand.
That does help.
Okay.
Maybe it would make sense to just add that specific stuff here. Patrick, can you unaccept the change you just accepted? Because all I had written was placeholder. So I just want to make it clear to myself that this is not.
You know what? I'm gonna have to show my ignorance. How do I unaccept?
Okay, I'll just delete it and then I'll know myself to go fix it.
Bingo. Okay. Sorry, I thought I was accepting just the seed, like the cosmetic stuff. My bad.
All good.
Okay. Committees. Okay. Okay. I'm just noticing this.
Yeah. Well, I also just wrote it, but
Okay.
we just Sheila's feedback here was helpful. So I think I'm gonna try to basically delete that. Well, yeah.
Or
The treasure
or
section.
we can take a look at it. This number 6 section for the personnel committee. In consultation with the district manager, personnel committee shall be responsible for development review of succession plan for the position and for DM and other support personnel, just for continued operational needs are met.
Yeah, I just drafted that, having just, as you all know, left my baby after 27 years and went through lots of succession planning. But getting there, what I call basically a lot of the work I did in the 10 years prior to leaving was hit by a bus work, because no one ever knows what's going to happen. So it's something that I just think it's very feeling it right now. So thought it, and noticed we didn't have it. So thought it was very important.
Um, yeah. This, like I think I made a note here. Like this sounds. I think we're kind of all in agreement. This is one of those things where I figured not to accept the change until we were all here, in case anyone decided to throw their hand up or something didn't really make sense. And Eric, I know you mentioned not sure if that first part is necessary, but I think it's good to kind of leave in all the same. Um,
You
yes.
Yeah, I was
might,
just
Oh, sorry,
I'm
Eric.
sorry.
Eric, go ahead.
no,
Yeah.
I was agreeing with the comment that Roz made earlier in that chat that it could be up to the personnel committee whether that consultation is required depending on the circumstance. That's all.
Yes. Yeah, I think
Less
maybe
is more.
I think maybe I see your meaning. I see your meaning.
So
Okay.
see Roz's hand up.
Yes, I
Yeah.
see. Yes, Ross, go ahead.
Yeah, my point was just less is more. Just we don't let the personnel committee do what they're going to do. And obviously, if like in your case, Sheila, they would have been there. But if you had, whatever, we don't need to get into detail. But I just think there's no reason to constrain that the district manager be part of it.
Yeah, actually, now talking about it out loud, I was gonna say it probably would be very helpful for the district manager to be involved, but shouldn't be kind of required in the spirit of like we don't want this to be overly limiting. Sorry,
Yeah, it's a
Steve.
good point. I actually know an organization that where the head had to leave suddenly, and the board had to put together succession plans. Things happen. So I think maybe overprescribing that detail. But I mean, it's ideally they really are, because you need
Mhm.
that experience. And Stephen?
Yeah, I just want to know, are we going back? Because I had sent in a couple of suggestions. I don't think we even talked about that area. I just want to know if we're going backward too. Seem to be near the end of the document, or not.
No, we're about halfway through
Okay.
the document.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm sorry then.
Nope.
Before we leave, if I do something, I'll let you know.
All good. I'll just accept this and um move on. Oh, this seems to be we're all in agreement here. Splitting up HHS education, unsheltered, unhoused and shelter um committee. I think I think we're all kind of in agreement here. I would like some chime in from somebody from this committee. So I was going to check in with Amparo or um, um,
And Michael has his hand up.
oh, sorry, Michael.
I think
Warren.
it's it's a so I think in that one where we're all in agreement, I think there was a I I I don't think it was as straightforward as clicking accept because Roz was proposing changing the name and I was saying it's listed differently everywhere else in the document. So it's a really trivial thing, but it's called the Capital and Expense Budget Committee everywhere
Mm-hmm.
else in the document. And that was Roz is proposing to change it to Budget Committee.
Got it. I'm sorry, and I thought I thought everything was
Well,
resolved to be.
I
what
don't,
you differentiate the operational budget from
yeah,
the,
yeah.
and I
That's
think
why
does the budget committee incorporate also that operational budget?
I think that's
Because if
like a
it does,
substantive thing we
then
need to have a conversation about.
Mhm.
Because I'm thinking perhaps it does, but I don't think it has in recent memory. So I think it's just like maybe that is the change we want to make, but I think we should just be more like a little more deliberate about what that means.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this is the the place for it. Although, yeah, I agree, Michael, with your spirit of consistency here.
So let me just flag this as a longer conversation. I think as I also kind of work on the treasure stuff, like a little bit more, I'll have a more clear proposal. I think ultimately I do agree, Roz, about renaming the committee, but I just think like then we should rename it everywhere else, and that kind of reflects a broader change.
Michael, I don't really want to spend time talking about this subject. I'm just saying I agree. I accepted it just for consistency's sake across the document.
I do want to
Yeah.
add a question, kind of talk about that. Not going into every page and changing, making sure it's consistent language, but the idea that the kind of the operating budget work is done by the treasurer and then brought to the executive committee, whereas the capital and expense had historically had all of the different committee chairs as part of it. Two very different things. And that kind of makes sense to me. So there wouldn't be a committee for the operating budget. That would be the treasurer's responsibility and then brought to the executive committee and then the full board. Is that what you were saying?
I think that's helpful feedback, Sheila, and like a reasonable process. I think whether committee chairs play a very active role in the operational budget or not is a choice that I feel like we haven't like really made as a board. Like whether it's sort of the executive committee leads on this or it's the treasurer and the committee chairs, as we've done with the capital and expense budget. So I think these are just like bigger policy.
Right. Yeah. My suggestion is the treasurer and the executive, because there's also not that much money in the operating.
100%. Yeah, yeah. I mean, net of the non-negotiables, it's like a single digit thousand, like small single digit thousand.
Okay, so Michael, you're gonna spend more time looking at that.
Correct. And I think the current language is fine. I think yeah, thanks.
Debbie has her hand up.
Just to reiterate, we have a fixed budget. There are bills that we have no choice that we have to pay to operate the office. We don't have discretionary money that we can give out to groups or anything like that. So it's a very specific budget that all the boards have and utilize. We have some discretion to buy swag, to buy refreshments for volunteers. But beyond that, we really don't have a lot of opportunity to do other things.
No, I think we all understand that there are kind of limitations and obligations already. So thanks for the reminder.
Okay.
No, we're good on that front. Where are we? Okay. Eric, I know you were talking about kind of adding teeth to the attendance. I really think that's kind of, up to or should be up to the discretion of like the chair, the secretary, like others. Where I'm not sure necessarily we need to put so much language and reminders in the bylaws. That might just be me. But I don't know if
I totally agreed with you, Patrick.
Okay, yeah, like I understand the sentiment and the spirit, but I don't know how kind of the larger group feels about it.
I'm inclined just because I think this stuff can get complicated and it's not very flexible once it's in the bylaws. I think it would be totally cool for the chair to like have a policy document that the board approves with expectations that's like more nimble.
Fair. Roz?
I'm curious about whether, first of all, anybody's been asked to leave the board because they haven't gone to meetings and committees and so on. I know when I was secretary, I actually kept and tracked only for full board meetings. It was very revealing. I believe in the value of feedback and sunlight, and if we had a chart like that, it would become pretty clear who's coming and who isn't. And we don't have any such tracking thing for committees. And it doesn't need to be cumbersome. It could be built into the process of making minutes and things of that sort. It's simple relational database.
I understand. The question is if the bylaws is the best place for that. Sheila, your hand?
Yeah, I don't think the bylaws is the right place for that. And it already says at the beginning or within the bylaws that people are expected to attend meetings, to be present. So that kind of stuff is in there. I just, yeah, and I know of a situation or two, let's say in the many years where a chair has been asked to leave the chair position very suddenly. And I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily think adding like a list of the possible reasons would have helped in any of those situations. If anything, it might have made it worse. That's just want to share that. So I agree with you. I don't think the bylaws are the place for that. And Debbie has her hand up.
Sorry, Sheila.
My hand is only up not to comment on what's in here, just to let everybody know. We track all public members. We track all members of what committees they attend or not. So if Borough Hall needs to have that list or whatever, we have it. If committee chairs want that list of who goes to their committees for a whole year or 6 months or 3 months or a month, whatever, we have that data. We tracked it because in the past we've asked how many people attend a committee meeting or not. It used to be mandatory. You had to attend at least one committee meeting. I think it's still mandatory beyond the board meeting, but no one really tracks that. And that's again up to the chair and the executive board. So I'm just letting you know that we do keep track of that data.
Eric has his hand up.
Exactly. Eric.
Just to say that I agree with everything that's been said. It makes complete sense to me. I just want to flag though the idea of this, how to be a successful board member, just that maybe a takeaway from this process and this suggestion that gets to Anatole in some way. I'll just say in the spirit of transparency, I made the suggestion because attendance at my committee is a problem. So I don't know if that's for other committees as well, but I just hope that might be addressed in some way as a result of this process. That's all.
Steve.
Yeah, I have, I also have attendance problems in my committee at the moment, but the chair, as my understanding has always been, the chair, in this case, the executive committee, with consultation, is the one who appoints the people to the committees, including the chair. I have been asked to step down as a chair from a committee, the Arts and Culture Committee, because something happened in a political business thing that made the chairperson uncomfortable. Basically, I said to the chairperson, I serve at your pleasure. And I think that everyone on the committee is serving at the pleasure. Any appointed person is serving at the pleasure. So again, you don't have to list the reasons. Could there come a situation where someone is unfairly asked to leave a committee? Yeah, and they would bring it up at the board and fight it publicly if they want to, but I think you don't have to put down the reasons here.
Okay. And Eric will definitely make that escalated to Anatole. And so
Yeah, I don't want to just to say, I don't want to dismiss because it's come up and it's always been the case that attendance at committees is really, for the most part, atrocious.
Yep.
But I'm not quite sure. The bylaws is a place to address it. So I saw a few people their suggestions about documents, other documents or accountability.
I'm trying in the last 5 minutes, Steve, I'm trying to get to where your comments were. And I can't believe they're this far.
I'm never sure if I do things right technically.
No, you did leave something.
There's one.
It was here.
Yeah, I see that one.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know where it is, but I think I had some issues regarding the qualifications to vote. There were two separate things that were there. One was for president, and I forget what the other one was for, which might have been different. And I started to think about it, that in one case you had to be a member for a full year, I think it said, and the other one it said something slightly different. If we get appointed in April,
yes,
and you have to have been a member in good standing, I don't know if the words are there or not, for a year or 12 months,
Mhm.
That means you could not run in your second year because it would be the end of your first year, 6 months actually.
Yep.
And technically, that means you could be elected without even knowing if you're being reappointed. I just don't know what I feel about
I
that.
mean, yeah, folks are elected without knowing if they're going to be reappointed, just because of the staggered schedule.
Yeah, I find that to be kind of remarkable.
I mean, did it not come up last time around?
Yes, but there's nothing you can really, I mean, like, and truthfully, you can be elected and then removed or have to leave. I mean,
There's a difference.
yeah. Well, but it's, yeah. I
Can
mean,
we
if you're
just
gonna,
go to that area there, Patrick? So we could just look at that briefly.
I mean, if you're talking about waiting until people are appointed, then you're not going to have elections until May, and then it can't be a full year because then you don't even know if you're still going to be on. Like, there's no way to make it fully sync up with everything.
Okay.
Officers and eligibility.
Yeah, we had a little conversation on a section and I made some edits that were accepted, so I think the change is not obvious here, but what is currently 2A used to have a much longer statement that yeah, includes a lot of different components and also says in the prior year in their capacity as a member, public member, and or guest. I think kind of to your point, Steve, I thought the prior year thing was a bit confusing because many board members will not have served in a full year
Right.
by the time November rolls around. And yet we don't seem to be requiring that they serve a full year because the next section specifically prescribes that requirement and limits it only to the vice chair and the chair, first vice chair and the chair. So I just sort of simplified it to like you need to have attended 2/3 of the meetings of the board and committees because that's the only, well, also these other things about employee and so on are still in there, but
All right. So why to be eligible for election as chair or first vice chair must you have been a member of the board for a full year, but to be second vice chair, secretary, or treasurer, you don't. I mean, I'm not sure why we would have a difference there.
I actually like the certainly the chair, and the first vice chair who could quickly become the chair in the case of a vacancy should have a stronger kind of amount of time with the board. And I apologize, Roz, I started speaking, you had your hand up. I'll just finish so that I can hand it to you. And I think originally, and Michael, I had responded to your question about this, is that some of the language has to do when we talk about a member must meet, it wasn't clear about member versus public member, which is part of why it says full board member for the chair and the vice chair, but it only said member for the other positions. So technically, they could have been a public member, but not necessarily for those two positions. I thought I could, but something was accepted, so that comment kind of went away. But Roz, I know you have your hand up too.
I 100% agree with what you're saying. You pretty much said what I would like to have said. The only thing I want to point out when about the slightly prior discussion, I mean, my understanding is that if a board member applies to renew, it's going to be routinely approved unless there's some atrocious issue of attendance or in the case of the situation with Denise Kean Smith, that was totally unusual and abnormal. It was an action of Borough Hall, and I don't think that we need to spend a lot of time worrying about what would happen if the person isn't renewed. They're going to be renewed. If they're serious enough as a candidate, then they're attending and involved.
I think we've had other people who have been not renewed, who were there for many years. I don't know whether it was a political thing or not, Roz, but I think it has happened.
Before my time, Steve.
Yeah, actually, I'm not even sure. I think some of it might have happened fairly recently. But I don't know all the
I
political.
don't believe so. Not to my knowledge.
Okay. But I mean, the question as to we have, or the movement of the board in the last few years has been towards getting more people involved in the decision-making process, in the review process, and so forth, which is a legitimate move to make. But now I question if the executive committee is going to have more power insofar as we're saying to the chair in consultation, shouldn't all the members of the executive committee be more experienced? And why should any of the other three, although I don't imagine the president and vice chair and first vice chair are going to be assassinated on the same night, but there's still the other things they do. They're still part of a 5-person tribunal that makes important decisions. In my time as chair and vice chair, we made very important decisions during the summer when the community board couldn't meet. And it seems to me that I think we're just having a disservice saying that these other major characters, these 3 other officers, don't even have to have a year of experience.
Well, it does. I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I was just going to say, ultimately, the board chooses who the board's exec committee should be. And so I think we should keep that in mind. If the majority of the board feels people aren't going to be good candidates, they don't need to vote for them. But on this specific point of should we limit second vice chairs, treasurer, parliamentarian, etc., to people who've served on the board for a full year, I don't see any need to add that requirement. I mean, that would, to be clear, that would be a new requirement. And I don't see any compelling reason to introduce that requirement, given what we've kind of talked about in terms of diversifying.
I was kind of going to say it's the same thing. The one thing that we didn't address for me is the question of when we say a member, are we talking about an appointed member or a full member versus where do public members come into this?
I'm sorry, where exactly are you referring to?
Officers and eligibility.
Oh,
The
okay,
thing
in
is,
this
we
section,
keep
sorry.
using the term a member, and I for clarity, I think just say like we're not talking about public members.
That's right.
So
But I don't.
somewhere in the document that should say that whenever we refer to member, we're referring to people other than public members. Just say it once someplace. Anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. Just somewhere like a little key, a
Agreed.
vocabulary key or
Yeah, I
something.
believe I added this to members.
I
So
thought
the,
you did too.
yeah, the first part of members distinguishes between voting members and public members. I guess we could say to this conversation, members in quotation marks.
Well, voting members, yeah.
Well, everywhere else in the document, we just say members.
I know that's part of where it's
That's
just
why I
like
think if we just codify that members without description is not public members.
there we go. And
I think
it has
if
to say
we-
public members to be that. That's great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think if we add that point number 3,
Oh, I was just thinking we could add it to 1, but I think this is
I'll make it cleaner.
You could put it in someplace.
yeah.
Thanks. Just so it's there one place. And thank you, Michael. I think you were already doing it.
The difference also is that public members are attached to a single committee. And so you could say public committee members or something like that.
No, public members could be
Board members.
on the full board as well.
No, they're not. No, they are
No.
attached to a
In the
specific
charter, they're
committee.
attached to a committee, but I think public members is a fine word, and I don't want to
Funny word, yeah.
muck with it. But yeah, as long as we just clarify that when we say members in the document, we're referring to voting members, we should be good.
Okay, I know we are 5 minutes over. We can. I'm good to kind of continue. But if people need to drop, I understand. We'll be making notes in the document, and feel free to chime in with your 2 cents.
Patrick, sorry, can we just on process, because I might need to drop, can you just recap what happens next? What's our next step?
Yes. So our next step is we have some items to pick up, whether it's the how we want to talk about the budget. I want to talk about voting, and I think we need to have another. Sheila, we talked about connecting again later in January in 2 weeks,
Ideally.
ideally in 2 weeks, to kind of round off some of these out outstanding or incomplete topics, such that by after the 21st, we can have most of our changes done, hopefully in time, kind of for the February meeting for the board. Does that make sense, Nellie?
We have to send a draft to the full board by January 28th.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I guess Patrick and you and I spoke about, do people want to meet another time or try to do this? I mean,
I think it would be very beneficial and productive to connect in person
I agree.
versus trusting to virtual communication where things get lost, unfortunately.
Can we, with people who are on here and is Debbie still on, try to schedule that? Because scheduling is always lots of fun.
I think we said the 21st.
No, 21st is land use.
Oh, then the 22nd?
Was it the 22nd or the 20th? Now I have to go back and look.
I was holding the 22nd. I think we might have talked about that.
Thursday
Then it was the
20 I'm
22nd.
sorry. Yes, it was
Yes.
Thursday. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thursday.
Okay, great. Somehow I didn't bother to put that on my calendar. Yikes.
Nellie, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That's so I'm glad we're getting a chance to work on this some more, meet again on the 22nd, circulate to the full board by the end of the month. So that's helpful. Okay, I'm gonna drop. Thank you all, and I will get back into segments soon.
Great. Okay, the two other big things that were on my mind were the where down here it's all the like rules for voting. Yeah. Quorum and rules for voting. So let's just say you added a whole bunch of these. I guess this feels like we're adding a whole lot, and I'm not like entirely sure why, unless things are like really opaque in how we currently operate.
I mean, I added it. Well, one, I was like in my zone because I love Robert's rules, um but also I don't know, and I know in one of your comments you said that most of the stuff I added is Robert's rules, but I don't know if people know what Robert's rules are in the first place. And then secondly, I think when we're voting sometimes there's like not a differentiation of like when we're doing roll call voting, when are we just doing A or no's or things like that. And so I think like the procedures of voting and whatnot, but we can delete it. I mean, I don't care.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
not trying
married
to.
to this.
I'm not trying to go for in that direction necessarily, but I think that there could be a delineation between kind of instructions and guidelines and bylaws. Roz?
Yeah, I actually, when I saw this, I really liked it a lot. It clarified what we do, how we're doing it, and I mean, maybe it is more detail, but the item D does suggest it addresses that secret ballot, and it says for sensitive confidential matters. And I understand we need to have a more public vote on that part of it, but I just felt this really did capture and codify what we do.
Sheila?
Yeah, that's actually, I was thinking about, and I think Randy and Michael or Eric were talking about like some kind of a couple page thing that's like how to be a good some instructional guide. Like I do also do like it, but I didn't know that it was necessary here in the bylaws. The one thing that I also maybe would go in a guide of some kind is there are different types of votes that need to be roll call. There aren't that many, actually. I think it's mostly land use. And
Sure.
just somewhere saying like that's the like the one, other things are at the discretion of the board, but this one must be a roll call vote. Like, because
It says
sometimes,
that in the section on roll call.
well, that tells you what a roll call vote is, but what
But
I'm
it
saying,
says this is required or when legal official documentation is needed. I don't know. Anyway, it's a fair point, one way or the other.
anyway,
Steve?
so Stephen.
It's required for ULURP, not land use, but only ULURP items are required.
But that's the only thing that requires a roll call, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Number 4 above. Did somebody change the quorum rules? Or is that just for a committee or something? Because it says there that for the purpose of determining a quorum, the people on the television screens shall be counted. That's a change, isn't it, Sheila? Because didn't we have it before that we actually had to have a quorum present in the room in person?
We did
People on the-
because that was before, I mean, remember we did that
3 years ago.
before the rules kind of were changed even to allow for online participation. Like a lot of that happened after we did the bylaws.
No,
So this is a change. But I'm saying when we did them, you had to be present to be part of the quorum because
right.
the law was the law then. Right?
Ah, oh, that's right. That's right. There was always the law that said that. That's why we had to do it.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
it
So
still is
did-
the law. I think it's still that's why we struggle to make sure we have an in-person quorum. And the only exception are people who are literally physically unable by dint of disability to come to the meeting. And we went in, yeah,
Well,
it
then
was
the law is the
challenging.
law. We can't,
I
we
don't
have
think
to,
we can change that. That's why I would say for the purpose, I wouldn't mind it being this way, but
well, that's a bigger discussion as to how people feel about it. I'm not sure how I feel, but I don't think it serves much of a purpose putting something into the bylaws which is illegal.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, in general,
Agreed.
I it's hard to argue with that.
So I
Okay,
think Bohr should come
so
out.
this point number 4, I can.
I had added it because I don't think the charter says anything about,
It was the state.
oh, okay. All right.
King's law, I believe.
But I would suggest that, when we bring everything up, that whoever's in charge of this brings up some future things for people to think about. I mean, the bylaws are subject to change, just like the Constitution. And, these are things you think about because just because I don't think it's a good idea doesn't mean that it is. It could be a great idea that I just don't understand.
The
It's
other
something people should think about.
thing I think is important about leaving that in for now, even though it will come out, is in a way um, acknowledging that we can't put this in, but it's going to come up in discussion because I do think people would they want it, but we have to say like we can't, if that makes sense. And Michael, I know after Stephen.
Steve, are you on deck to say something or no?
Sorry.
Oh, all good. I do think though, so the purposes of determining quorum, right, I think is the part that is not and doesn't comport with law. But I
Right.
do think it's worth codifying, maybe not in quorum, maybe in voting, not totally sure. something to the effect of like people who are participating remotely, their votes count. Which I think is what is otherwise, and also like count in the numerator and the denominator. Like I'm not, I mean, that's how we behave. But I do think like that is a meaningful thing to include that is a tradition we've adopted that's worth continuing.
I mean, I guess you could put in except as forbidden by law or something like that.
Well,
But
I just think instead of saying shall be deemed present for purposes of determining quorum and voting, maybe we just say shall be able to participate fully in the meeting.
that's fine.
Yeah, or something like that, including in votes. And yeah, something to this effect. It's only the part about determining quorum that is hairy.
That's the only issue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, we can remove this and then add something about remote attendees in the voting section.
And
Yeah.
Michael, if you're going to add that, didn't we have some other things that they also had to have their actual face on the screen when
On
they were
camera.
participating?
Yes.
Because I think the first person who didn't do that became our council person. I never saw her live at any meeting, but I always saw her picture. But we did talk about the fact that when you're going to speak or vote, your actually live person had to be on the screen. That should be in the bylaws too.
That's an item 4 at the top of the screen
Is it?
right now. That's right there. But there is one little trick or a little thing about quorum. Apparently, if somebody felt that people had been there for the purpose of the quorum, but then the quorum might not still exist when a vote has been taken, they can call for another quorum call or something.
It's Robert's rules, yes.
Right, that's Robert's rules, and so that's a way that, but I think otherwise, if we have a quorum, it stays in effect until the meeting's over.
Until
or
someone
whatever.
objects to it, correct.
Yeah.
Where is
But
the thing about them being physically present?
Yeah,
In the open meetings law, I believe.
the number 4 doesn't talk about their being there physically seen. It says he
Number
will be
4
heard to
should just
participate.
say, delete the, for the purposes of determining quorum, but for the purposes of voting or.
Right, but once you make that for voting, I'm suggesting put in the fact that their face must be seen.
Right, yeah, it's
A
there.
live
Yeah.
person must be seen. That's all.
Yes.
Would it be fair to say something like to the extent practicable? Like, I hate to be obnoxious, but like, imagine a world where my internet is really bad and I'm not wedded to it. I just wonder if there's some scenario where, like, if someone's doing it every time, that's a different story. But it's like, are we gonna not count your vote because your camera broke, for example? Like,
No, and I think
I mean, there's a
You're
rule
right.
and then I mean, I don't think we need to put in every exception. I think that if the guide is that this, but I don't, I do think it's good to put it in that this is, I mean, it wasn't something we just personally decided. That was also, I believe, part of the open meetings or the state rule that you had to be visible.
And
What?
just, I had a problem at the last community board meeting where I could not be heard. I could simply pick up my telephone and it gives me, if my computer's not working, my telephone is. So
yeah,
I
but
could,
you wouldn't be on cam. I mean,
on the iPhone, or
oh, okay, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
today, anybody who's got a computer has a phone that's a smartphone too, so they have backup.
All right. Well, if we're willing to say, we expect that degree of tech savviness to participate, then it's okay. But the only other thing I would just ask that we try to be more specific, right? I think I and many, many people have participated remotely in meetings where we alternate between being on camera and off camera. And I think here we're talking about being in part because like life is happening and I don't particularly want the world to see what's going on behind me if it's like there are other people in my house or so on. And so I wonder if
When you vote,
during the vote, which it's not fully like
and put it in fully.
yeah, so I just asked that we do that.
I think the reason we didn't originally was because we didn't want people signing on to a meeting, putting on their screenshot, and then saying goodbye, saying hello at attendance, and not being there. I think that's the reason it originally went into play. Okay.
I
And to
would,
verify, and
oh,
to
I'm
verify
sorry,
the
no,
votes are
Leticia had
actually
her
who they
hand up,
are.
so I didn't.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Oh, just two questions. So what is the exact, I guess, New York state law about hybrid or online meeting attendance? And two, to Roz's point, and I couldn't hear well, but so I think she mentioned about, people just being there for quorum and then after quorum, if quorum is met then and they decide to leave, we maintain quorum. So is that the case? Like we're not gonna redo a count or attendance if people decide to just leave?
If somebody wants to uh, redo it and recall
But somebody
attendance,
can motion for that.
yeah, to check that we're in
Okay.
quorum.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at the hybrid meetings thing. I mean, outside of trying to look back and see what this says again, I'd be all in for they should be visibly present for at least 25% of the meeting or half of the meeting, including but not limited to the voting. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have seen people also just show up for the meetings just to vote and then leave.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
I think that's what Ross was saying.
yeah.
And I think maybe after attendance is called and quorum has been, we've established quorum that you must be on camera present.
I think it's something to think about.
Yeah, exactly.
It
I
would
have
be
the
a
page open.
challenge.
I can add notes later.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Um, then the only other big thing was no, this minority report, let's call it.
Yeah.
I I don't know, uh, Steve, has this come up previously and during your tenure? Any conversation about it?
No, not in my 45 years.
Exactly. Okay.
The
All right.
reality
Well,
is, there are times when you or I or someone's going to differ with the decision of the board, and we have an absolute right as a human being to make our feelings known and to publicize it, but not as a minority report. Yeah,
Sheila,
that's crazy.
I hear you. Sheila?
I actually kind of liked it. And I feel like there have been a couple of instances recently where things that were very hotly contested were then portrayed as if they were really clearly 100% yay or nay. So I just thought it offered, like an opportunity for the public message to to include the dissents.
So, do I need anybody to agree with me to make a minority report, or can I solely send in
I don't
minority?
know. This is,
Yeah.
but
Other than the
I think it's
Supreme
worth
Court,
discussing.
other than the Supreme Court, I don't know anybody that
Well,
publishes
then maybe
minority.
there's an opportunity for a motion to add a dissent, um, like statement, a statement of dissent, and you have to have a certain number of people agree. I don't know. I think in recent times I've seen a real, missed opportunity for this. I know, Michael, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I mean, I tend to be skeptical of this. I feel like um, I'm often instructed I'm not allowed to speak on behalf of the board. And I think it becomes quite a hairy situation where there are two official positions, or maybe n official positions of the board. Um, there's the official position and one or more minority positions. It just strikes me as a not scalable thing. I do sort of also think about like in official things like with ULERP and so on, we have a board motion. I'm not sure what like for the ways in which the community board is codified legally, like our votes on ULERP, for example, there's not a, or our statement of needs, there's no procedure for a minority report. Obviously, we could send a letter and then send another letter to an elected official. I think that would kind of muddy the waters quite a bit for what the board thinks. I mean, it's an interesting idea, but I'm not, in my mind, I think it will create a lot of additional work and complexity, and I'm not sure that the payoff is clearly there. So I think it's interesting, but I tend not to think that it will advance the board's work.
Yeah, I think I think there's a there's a big difference between a two-person report and a 22-person report. And yeah, I think it definitely has the capacity to kind of muddy the waters. And also with something that I think will be a very big shift for the board, I think this might be a little too general, too broad, um, as is, and maybe something to consider, but maybe not to consider for the bylaws at this time. And we don't have to make a decision this evening. I mean, this is a big component. Want to give more time for others to chime in, but yeah, that's how I'm thinking. Sheila.
Yeah, I'm still of the school of like creating some kind of a mechanism for this, and I'd love to get Maury added this, I believe, and get some more from Maury and others about what the mechanism could look like, and let the board decide. Because I do, Leticia, I agree. I think under one LIC that was a great example where some of the outward you know, publicity made it sound like the board was just like 100% yeehaw. And it was a very hotly contested discussion. So even, having the opportunity for a dissent to say, well, this was passed, I mean, I just think that there were a couple of other things throughout the years that had there been the opportunity or mechanism, it's not one that one person could do it, because I agree, like one person can go out there. But in that case, and there were about 20 people who didn't vote. I voted for it, but there were about, a good number. I voted for it with all the conditions. But I think making clear that the message from the board, giving people who dissent an opportunity to have a voice, I think it's useful. So I'd like to hear what Maury has to say on that, and kind of, and if there's a suggested mechanism for it.
Sure.
Ross?
Ross. Roz, you are muted.
I'm sorry, I've been trying to
Sure,
mute.
sure.
And I think there are a lot of venues for people to express their individual opinions, or even if there's one or two op-eds and so on. So I'm inclined to let this be. And if the vote itself is close, then that speaks for itself, and people can use that fact.
I've got to sign off, so see you all at the next meeting. I see you all tomorrow.
We'll see you all. Yeah, see you tomorrow. And I was going to wrap it up anyway, Steve.
All right.
So all good.
Thank you.
So yeah, Sheila, I will think about an alternative to suggest for this mechanism.
Can we just ask Maury to do it since he offered the suggestion?
I can easily do that.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad habit of trying to not look like I'm shirking. But yeah, I'll punt it back his way, and really ask him if this is the best platform for such a noble endeavor.
And if so, like, what could it look like? Like,
Yeah.
and he suggested it, so let's see what he comes up with.
Fair. I know we're 30 minutes over. I don't want to really go into extra innings. Like, thank you, everyone. There are a few other outstanding items. I'll send over an email. I know we can tackle 90% of it digitally, and then circle back in 2 weeks to really like dot I's and cross T's and have a lot of the conversations had, and have those up or down votes, or determine what to bring to the board and why. Just for the sake of efficiency. Anything else from anyone before we sign off? Okay, great. Well, thank you all again. And I'll see you, I'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks,
Gratitude.
Sheila. Thanks, Patrick.
See you.